now I would like to welcome um, Dr. Jacob Lieberman. Jacob is um, based in Hawaii, as I was saying, where he lives with his beautiful, wonderful wife, Deborah. And I have known him for maybe 5 years through our work at the ILA. And from a personal standpoint, you know, I consider him to be a real inspiration for how you could live your life, you know, in terms of keeping it focused on helping people. He said something beautiful yesterday, is that if you're happy, spread it because other people need it, right? Because we were discussing what we're going to talk about. And he says, just come up with some questions and I'll go with how he does it, which is going to be an amazing 45 minutes. Um, so I only have one, I asked others, and everyone who has seen you before has said, you know what, he covers it anyways. The question that we had in our head, he knows the question, and he talks about it. So the only question that I wanted to pose, for this beautiful, compelling topic that is seeing beyond 2020, since several of us have pivoted in some ways or the other, it's obviously had an impact on everybody's life. What is the meaning of existence going forward? What's the purpose? What should the purpose be? Seeing beyond 2020. Um, that's it. And Jacob, welcome. Thank you for taking the time. Uh, Looking great. And it's wonderful to have you here, sir.
It's the coffee.
Thank you, sir.
it's it's nice to be here with you today. And I guess the question you're asking is, what's next? What can we take from this?
Hmm.
Jonathan Swift once said, "Real vision is the ability to see the invisible." This year has allowed us to both see the visible at levels we may have never seen them before, and to also see the invisible, what lies underneath, what is beneath the field of awareness. We've had an opportunity to experience what's normal and what normal can be like when it's magnified beyond imagination. And we've also been touched by what's natural. What's that place that brings us home? Uh, as Abe was speaking about his project and bringing together the way different cultures reminded us of home, this year has been an opportunity to see both. And so the question is, what have we gotten out of this? What have we actually seen? Early in the year, when there was a lockdown and people weren't going to work and our the schedules of our life seemingly were disrupted. At first it was shocking, and then there was a certain pleasure in it because how long has it been
Mm.
since most of us had a real vacation from life? Many, many years ago, there was a Broadway show. It was called Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. This year earlier, the world stopped, and for a short, brief period, we had an opportunity to get off. Everything that exists had an opportunity to get off, both our lives as human beings, but the lives of creatures other than humans, the lives of the planet, the life of the environment, the climate, everything you can imagine. We got in touch with the heart of our hearts when you don't have to use your alarm clock in the morning because you don't have to be somewhere at a certain time. Then you are intimately reacquainted with your own biological clock, with your own rhythm and timing, with your own nature, not all of these ideas of who are we supposed to be? What do we want to create? To go from that illusion to the reality of who am I? What is my essential blueprint or fingerprint, which gives us a clue as to what is our purpose for being, not what is our purpose of doing, but what is our purpose for just being? And what is the impact of just being? Yesterday, when Justin and Abe and I had a quick conversation prior to this event today, Abe had shared with you that I said something about if you're happy, spread it. It was slightly different than that. What I actually meant or said is that when we are in a state of contentment, that state of contentment is contagious. It's not contagious because we do something, it's contagious because we are resonating at a certain level, and that awakes or awakens all the other tuning forks on the planet that have that resonance within them. And so we're the remedies, not through our doing, but through just being exactly who and how we are. And most of our life has been very confusing because we've been conditioned to spend our entire life continually editing our nature so that it fits into a little box called normal. We have to edit what is coming out of our mouths and when it is said and what we wear, and it goes on and on and on. We're no longer just pure essential beings, but we're male or female. We are Christian or Catholic or Muslim or Jew or whatever. We either have very light skin or we have some variation of coloration all the way to the darkest. This is just the garden of life. It's not one is better or worse. There are no preferences. We're not born with preferences. And yet, the conditioning of the mind to what we call right and wrong and what's culturally acceptable, it literally blinds us. It blinds us to the truth that has the potential of setting us free. This year, we've experienced how profoundly uh, out of sync we are with the heartbeat of life. And we've also experienced how profound it is when there's a merging that occurs and the drop that we think we are falls into the ocean, and all there is oneness. So the possibility is to uncover our essence, to uncover who or what is this something that was named Jacob or Abe or whatever it is. And for me, that's been a continual journey for many, many, many years. Many of you know I was trained in the vision care field and in the vision science field. And so a big part of my life has been about seeing. And initially, it was seeing with the eyes. And then I realized that the seeing with the eye is profoundly influenced by the seeing with the mind's eye. But the biggest quantum leap was an awareness that the source of our seeing is neither the eye nor the mind's eye, but that field of awareness that is noticing everything external in the outside world, everything internal, somatically, feeling wise, what's happening within the body, everything that's occurring on a mental level, all the chattering, the worries, the concerns, the thoughts, and so on. And when one uncovers that the only reason we're aware of anything is because our essence is a field of eyes with no point of view that notices all that is. Now, when we think of that, all that is, seeing everything, we think of this word God. You know, the Bible tells us that the creative force sees everything, knows everything, is everywhere at the same time. And we're led to believe that it's something outside of us. And yet, the Bible itself says that this creative force, God, created humans in God's own image. Well, it's not too far fetched to accept that fact when you uncover that the reason we're aware when the mind is chattering, something that we say is invisible and non physical, the reason we are aware of that is because there's something within our humanity that is always aware of that. And when the mind is active at night, and what we call a dream, there's something inside of us that never sleeps, that is aware of what that is, and yet has no comment about it. It has no point of view. It has no desire. It just notices. This field of noticing, this source, this essential us, if we are graced enough to touch that space, life can change instantaneously. And then over time, there's a greater and greater and greater identification with this field of knowing rather than this mind that thinks it knows. You know, we say, "Oh, I think it's going to be a sunny day," but that essentially means we don't know if it's going to be a sunny day. But this field of awareness that I'm speaking of, it doesn't think. It's a field of knowing without a knower. It's an ocean of oneness. It's a field of non duality. It is the essence of what we term godliness. And it's common to all of us. And so that field of awareness that uh, I at times slip into is that same field of awareness that all of you at times slip into. Because when we slip into it, we disappear as an individual, and all that remains is a field of quiescence, a field of spaciousness, a field of no preferences. What's so profound about it is that in this space, all is known, but there isn't a person or an individual that knows it. The knowing is anonymous, it has no author. And that is continually um, merged with our humanity. What I'm sharing with you is when that space is touched, there's no more thinking required. There's no more worrying required, even though it will at different times enter our awareness. There's no need to think ahead anymore. In fact, you find yourself actually having an allergic reaction to preparing in advance because it loses the magic of not knowing, the magic of experiencing what creation is in real time, and to realize that it doesn't come from us, it comes to us free of charge. It's our genius. And our genius isn't us. Our genius is a guiding spirit. And I remember Einstein, when he was once asked about the theory of relativity, how did he come up with that? And he started laughing. He said, "Oh, that came by itself while I was playing piano." And that's essentially what happens. We say, do what you love what you do, the world will come to you. When we are a state of joy, of contentment, having fun, call it what you will, that's when the answers all come free of charge without any looking. It just comes by itself in the form of something we call inspiration. It breathes into us not only a life force in the form of oxygen, but it breathes into us a purpose, uh, something we call an idea, a discovery. It breathes into us something that is a roadmap for achieving or fulfilling our purpose for being. And it's always looking for us. We live at a time now where everybody's talking about making things happen, and what you have to do to make money or to have things your way or whatever. But what if life is actually looking for us and will find us wherever we are? What if there's nothing to look for? What if the process of looking and doing is the source of almost all of our stress? What if life is supposed to be stress free, effortless, in the same way the planets orbit around the solar system, in the same way the oceans seemingly move, animated but by what we don't know, in the same way that our physiology is not designed to initiate action, but totally designed to respond to something? Discovering that this is a system that is responding rather than doing is one of the most important and ecstatic discoveries of a lifetime. One that brings us to our knees of humility. There's a recognition that we're not in charge. We have no idea what is in charge, but we're being moved. So we often hear the expression, oh, it caught my eye. What was the it that caught my eye, that reflexively caught my eye and moved it to attend or be present with that which called it? And that movement of alignment of my eye with that which called it is then followed by an adjustment or an alignment of my physical body with that. What if that is literally the animating force of life, guiding us continually toward the next step of our life, the next whatever it is? We spend so much time speaking about presence and techniques to be more present. First of all, presence is not an active state. It's a state that occurs when that which is calling our I and our essence merging into oneness. It's the moment that the download from the intelligence of the universe touches us as a spark of inspiration and sets us on a path of achieving our reason for being, of bringing forth something into the world, whether it is a talk on a Saturday morning or some scientific discovery. We all say, oh, look what I came up with. But it's not us that came up with it. We merely become aware of it when it shows up. That awareness is key because we spend most of our life communicating and interacting with the external world. And we totally miss that something is continually communicating with us. I say communicating with us, except it's not actual communication because there isn't two. In that state of unity, guidance is flowing continually, moving our hearts, our blood pressure, our hormones, our ideas, our everything. And so the idea of seeing beyond 2020 is seeing this field of invisibility that is continually touching us with the next spark, the next inspiration, the next individual that touches us, the next situation that touches us. And although many different techniques like meditation, yoga, and so on are all valuable, just as prayer is valuable, I'm sharing about something different. Imagine that rather than praying to something, one's ultimate prayer is their life. One's life becomes a living prayer. What if meditation wasn't about sitting quietly, maybe with your legs crossed, repeating a mantra, watching your breath, whatever it is? What if meditation is actually an ongoing experience called life? What if the real meditation is washing the dishes, making the bed, paying your bills, responding to an email, calling someone back? What if the process of noticing what's calling to us and noticing that there's an aspect of us that responds by itself and that it takes effort to prioritize and say, oh, I'll take care of it tomorrow? What if the purpose this year, when we were doing less and perhaps our minds were a bit more empty or not, what if that was our grand opportunity to uncover what's really essential, to clarify for us that what's really essential is the inseparability that is life? We think of life as a bunch of different things, people, experiences, we're all different. But what if each of us, what if everything is just a cell, a microcosm in the macrocosm called existence? And you see, when we're touched by this awareness, our life creates no side effects. You know how we often talk about things having side effects? All those things that have side effects are those ideas that we think we come up with. How to make more money, how to do this, how to do that. But when our life is merely an expression of existence, when our life is just being taken where the blueprint of our existence is taking us, there's no side effects created. And something very, very touching uh, occurs that I don't know how to put into words. It's blissful, it's ecstatic, but those words don't actually do it. We are continually having experiences of delightment in ways that we don't even recognize. Sometimes we'll go to a restaurant and be having breakfast and find ourselves sitting nearby someone, or maybe on an airplane prior to COVID. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, spontaneously, conversation erupts from where we do not know with an individual that prior to this flight, you've never seen, you've never experienced. You don't even know their name. And conversation erupts. And of course, initially you think, oh, it's them and it's us. There's two of us talking. But somewhere in the process, each of us disappears. And the conversation seems to have a life of its own. It's not us talking, it's something communicating through each of us. And while we're not looking, those two conversations grow together. Through resonance, there's a merging. And when that merging occurs, which is called limbic resonance, the emotional centers within our humanity are literally vibrating identically. When that limbic resonance occurs and a merging follows, magic takes place. What began as the illusion of two separate beings now becomes one. And when that occurs, each of us forgets all of our concerns, all of our worries. We're totally unaware of the pain that we had in our knee or in our lower back when we got on the plane. The other individual all of a sudden becomes totally unaware that they were concerned about finances before they got on the plane. All of our problems disappear because we're no longer us. We're in this state of oneness that sometimes we call love. So I say love is the answer regardless the question. What's really profound about this state is that limbic resonance, that which brings two people together because birds of a feather flock together, limbic resonance within a short period of time becomes limbic regulation, which essentially means that my vibes begin to entrain your vibes, and your vibes begin to entrain my vibes. And we are entraining each other's physiology into a state of, ah, thank God I'm home. And over time of having such experiences, what began as limbic resonance and then limbic regulation becomes limbic transformation. All of a sudden, we are imprinted by a magical something that leaves us silent, that leaves us speechless, that leaves us in a state of awe. In early February of this year, I, in the middle of the night, was awoken by a revelation. It was incredibly clear. And what was clear is that we were about to experience the most profound something any of us had ever experienced. And I woke up the next morning and I shared it with my wife, and I called my kids, and I called their mother and a few other people. And I said, don't schedule any flights, don't travel anywhere, be very aware. And then within a month or shortly after that, this thing occurred. About 3 to 4 months ago, I had another experience like that, but it occurred during the day. There was just a flash. And the flash was, there's going to be more sunshine in January. And as I sat with that, first thing that came to me is, oh, we'll have a new administration in our government, or something will be different regarding the pandemic. Well, yesterday we started seeing signs of that. Uh, we're seeing something really profound that's been going on before us. We've seen worldwide havoc being hit by a pandemic, something no one expected. And we've seen what happens when we get so lost in thinking that we're an individual that we lose sight of humanity. We lose sight of our connectedness, and everything becomes about me.
Mm.
And there's no awareness of we. So we've seen those things demonstrate and mirror to us our lack of connection with the environment that we are, in fact, integral to, the planet we live on, and how its life is a reflection of our life, and vice versa. We are mirror images of each other. And so we've seen our lack of a love affair with home. And we've also seen a lack of a love affair with each other. We see ourselves as different, and yet when this field of awareness, what sometimes I call the eyes of God, when there is a glimpse that occurs from that space, there's a knowing that there is no other. There just is no other. And all the concerns that come up around that disappear. So this year is about seeing beyond the eye chart. It's about seeing through the eye chart. It's not about measuring our ability to see by looking at the eye chart, but noticing the depth of our clarity by acknowledging everything that is calling to us, not pretending that we didn't see the dirty dishes when we saw them, not saying, I'll make the bed later, I'll take the trash out tomorrow, oh, I'll reply to that email later, oh, I'll pay that bill at the end of the month. It's just a firm, they don't need it. It's about treating every dirty dish and every bill and every email and every message and every human being and everything you come into contact with the awareness that that is an instance of godliness. That is an instance of profoundness. We are the contagious remedy that we have been searching for,
Wow.
our essence, not our individuality, our essence, which is shared by all that exists.
Good.
Have a grateful day.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Uh, you always leave us in a trance of thoughtfulness, of, you know, exploring what you.
What's interesting is that I'm in the same trance as you.
Well, you're amazing, Jacob. I really, on behalf of everyone here, and especially the AWA team that knows you, Justin and others, really thankful for your time. And getting up this early in Hawaii, it's 7 a.m. when you started, and so really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your wisdom and your love, and happy holidays.
Can I say something? Um, Take this for whatever it's worth. Wisdom has no author. We are not the wisdom. We are merely the plumbing fixtures through which the wisdom travels. And it's not us speaking, it's something speaking through us, but we rarely touch that space because we've been led to believe it's us,
Mm,
that I'm thinking about it, that I'm doing the talking. But um, see, we rarely experience this state because we step in and do something at the speed of light to make sure it's going to come out right.
right.
We prepare with everything we have. We continually rehearsing our life internally and orchestrating it so it will come out in a way that we're all accepted. What I'm saying is this state invites us to jump into the pool even though we think the water is cold. And then we jump in and we realize, oh my God, it's warm and beautiful. When we jump in empty handed, without a net as an insurance policy, that's when we discover godliness. That's when we discover that it's not us talking,
Mm.
it's something speaking us, it's something breathing us. So I appreciate everything that you shared. And I am just as touched as you are, even though I have no idea exactly what was coming through. Um, Something, it just moves me as it moves you, but it's not me and it's not you.
Yeah.
It's that which is not describable.
Yep. Powerful. Thank you, Jacob.
You are so welcome.
We love you, and thank you for all your wisdom, your inspirations, and just being you. You know, a real mensch, as we say.
Thank you. See, now I get to do my real work. I have to go to the farmer's market and get vegetables.